Hey Stalking, this is going to be kind of a long video, so I'm just going to start talking. I've really liked the conversations in the past month's video that Greg kind of kicked off with this question about the future, and I can definitely relate to the things you guys have already talked about, especially Leah's video about really not knowing what you're supposed to be doing. I definitely felt that way when I first moved to Madison, and I did for quite a while. Once I actually found a job in Madison and kind of settled in, I just felt really directionless. Like, when you're in school, you always have this next thing that you're getting ready to do. Now that nobody was telling me what to do, I just sort of did nothing. I started having these days where I would be really excited at work to come home and do stuff, but then I would get home, it was like all I really wanted to do was just like sit on the couch and absorb whatever was easiest, like Netflix or YouTube or Reddit. And then I would stay up late because I felt like I wasted the day and I had to do something. And then I would be really tired the next day and I would have even less energy, and it just sort of compounds itself. So for a while I told myself these were just like off days. You know, everybody has days where they just don't want to do anything. It's not a big deal. But over time I started kind of noticing that these weren't like off days, these were most days. At some point it became unusual not to feel that way. The people who know me really well can tell you that it is really hard to get me to talk about things that are bothering me, and for a long time I just didn't mention it to anyone. But eventually people started to notice that I was just always tired and sometimes I just didn't really seem present, and they started asking me about it. People started to mention the D word, depression. I never really considered depression like as a possibility because I didn't feel sad about anything. And I knew, you know, on an academic level, I knew that that's not what depression is. It's not just feeling sad for a while. But for some reason I couldn't apply that knowledge to myself. For other people it made perfect sense, but for me, I was just a really tired and lazy person. It didn't seem like there was anything more to it. But the longer I ignored it, the more it started to catch up with me. And eventually I had this day where I went to work and I just couldn't be there for some reason. And I came home in like the middle of the day and I went to bed and I stayed there for the rest of the day. I literally just wanted to hide in bed forever, and that was sort of a tipping point that I realized I should probably talk to somebody. So I did, and the thing that really drove it home was that, so I'm kind of a fidgeter. I do that annoying thing that people do where they shake their leg and then the table shakes and you're like, why is he doing that? I also have this really bad habit where I pick at the skin around my fingernails, and it's kind of like nail biting, but then when you run out of fingernails you just keep going. In fact, that's what this video was originally going to be about, because I don't really think about it that often, but when I make a video like last month where I have to record my fingers, I start wondering if people will see it. And sometimes it looks really bad and people will notice and go, dude, what the hell happened to your hands, man? And yeah, it's kind of awkward. So I was actually going to make a video about that, but now I'm talking about other things. I want to make a blog post about it and post a link somewhere. It's honestly kind of gross, so I figured it didn't really need to be made into a video. But anyway, so after talking to him for a little while, he asked me if I had ever been diagnosed with depression or anxiety. And I was like, okay, well, I see where you're coming from with the depression thing, but where are you getting anxiety? Like, I'm a really laid-back person. I've never been described as anxious. And he's like, dude, all of the things you've been doing for the last 45 minutes are things that people with anxiety do. I was really stunned that he could pick that up so quickly, but it also kind of was my wake-up call that, yeah, these aren't like healthy habits to have. And then I was finally able to apply that to myself, that it's not about feeling sad or feeling worried, it's about your brain specifically doing things that your brain isn't supposed to do and trying to fix those stupid things. I was really hoping that this was going to be one of those things where like once I knew what was happening, it would just sort of go away because I was aware of it. And it got better for a little while, and then I went to Texas. You've seen the part of the trip where I went to Dallas with Maya for Tiffio's Texas, and that part was great. But then after that part, I had to go on to Houston for my actual reason for the trip, which was a work conference. And the first day of the conference was fine. I looked around, I took everything in, but then the second day of the conference, I wanted to be there less and less and less as every day went on. And by the last day of the conference, I pretty much spent the whole day hiding in my hotel room watching Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes on Netflix. There was this really amazing after party being held in the Houston Astros Stadium, and they had tons of food and tons of drinks and like the biggest big screen I've ever seen anywhere. And I went to it, and I walked around the stadium once. Most of that walk was just trying to get back to the exit, and I promptly went back to my hotel room without really doing anything there. And then on the way home, the train was several hours delayed. I was really frustrated and I just wanted to get home, and it left me feeling pretty pathetic. I literally couldn't handle being alone for less than a week. But Houston showed me that this isn't something that goes away. It's not something I can do passively. I've learned that for me, depression is sort of a sink or swim sort of thing. As soon as I stop moving, I'm going to start getting pulled under, and the longer I don't move, the harder it's going to be to start up again. You know, the whole objects at rest, stay at rest sort of thing. So I have to try to make a conscious effort if I want things to get better, and since then I have. I've tried to get more involved in things, I've tried to cut off those so-called off days before they get started, and I started telling myself the phrase trending up. As in, there are going to be dips. There are going to be days when I give into my bad habits, or miss a video deadline, or sleep in 2 hours later than I should because I don't want to get out of bed. But if I only look at those, like the people who deny climate change, I'm not going to see the big picture, I'm just going to see the short-term losses. If I zoom out and look at things from further away, I'm going to see that it's actually trending up over time. Maybe not as quickly as I'd like, but it's progress, and I'm okay with that. So my goal for the next 5 years is basically to just keep trending up. But speaking of short-term losses, a few weeks ago the company that I work at announced that they were going to be cutting back some positions to save money. And this week I found out that my position is one of them that is being removed. So as of January 15th, my job isn't a thing anymore. To be honest, I'm not super worried about it yet, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be fine, but as you might imagine, losing my job is kind of extra stress that I don't really want right now, but that's okay. Trending up. Thanks for bearing with me on this video. If you couldn't tell, these are not things that I'm comfortable talking about, and it's difficult for me. This is a video I've actually kind of wanted to make for a little while, and I probably would have just kept putting it off if it weren't for your guys' just open and honest videos over the past few weeks, so thanks for being earnest, I guess. You probably won't see my next video until after Christmas, so until then, Merry Christmas, St. Elmo's Fire. Thanks for being you.